Hello everyone, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me. Happy Monday. Today is Ghost Story Day. Thank you so much for sending me all your ghost stories. I'm getting through every single one of them. You can go ahead and send your ghost stories, weird experiences, alien encounters, weird people encounters right here to this email. I look forward to reading all of them. If this is your first time here in this series, this is my ghost stories and makeup series where I read your ghost stories that you guys send me and do a makeup that's kind of based on, I guess, a way to die. I got this idea from the wonderful Bailey Sarian, who does a murder mystery makeup Mondays where she combines true crime with makeup, and I thought I'll do the same with something I love, which is horror and ghost stories and just weird shit, and do my makeup as well. So that's that, basically. Just before we get into this, I just want to plug my podcast. A lot of you comment about how you like listening to me talk in this series. I don't know why, but listen, you can listen to me talk here with my twin brother. We have a podcast called The Double Cleanse, and it's a podcast all about beauty, makeup, skincare, the beauty industry, the influencer kind of industry, things like that as well. So you can go ahead and listen to that. It is available for free to listen to on the podcast app on iPhones. If you have Android, we're not on Spotify just yet, we're getting there, but you can listen on Podbean, Luminary, Pocket Cast, loads of other places. Go ahead and check that out and follow us on Instagram as well. Oh right, now I've done that, talking about the artwork for it. These pins just here, I bought 2 of them to make kind of like 2 little collar cuts of these cute little ghosts. This is from the artist who made the artwork for our podcast. I'll link her Etsy shop below because she does all kinds of really cute little like little cute things. Yeah, anyway, okay, so today's theme, killed by lightning, but in a cute way. No, but we've come back as a ghost and we look cute for it. I never talk about the products I use in the video because I think it kind of overpowers these stories, if that makes sense, and interrupts the stories and we kind of lose the momentum. So I'm going to link everything you see below. So then if you see something you like, you can go ahead and check it out yourself. Some links will be affiliate links, but I will clearly mark those, as is the UK law, just for you guys out there who aren't aware of that. So let's just go ahead and start with our first story. This is called Robert, a Picture. Oh, and by the way as well, my eyes are a little bit watery. I have allergies today, and also I just did makeup a minute ago and then took it straight off, and now I'm going back in with more makeup. So by the end of the day I should have no eyes left. So this is, hi Robert, I love your videos. Let's get to the story, thank you. My mother died around 12 years ago on Easter. Anyway, right before her death, my niece was born. You can see her godmother holding her in a swing chair. We all believe it's my mother visiting her grandchild and saying hello. You can clearly see a face. Thank you. Let's have a look at that picture. Oh God, yeah, you can. It's kind of looking that way. Oh, that's so strange. I wonder if ghosts, like when pictures are being taken, if they're like, you still need to include me, and that's why they like show up as like smoke and things like that, you know? Maybe they get a little bit jealous. Let me ask you guys a question. Do you find it comforting or a little bit frightening that somebody could be hanging around looking out for you? I think it's quite nice, and I think it's quite nice that they would show up in a picture if you can clearly tell it's them, do you know what I mean? But not if it's just some like random face. That's such a cool picture. Thank you so much for sending me that. I love that. Thank you. Our next story is called Astral Projection. The house my wife and I currently live in has had multiple different tenants over the years. They all had some kind of supernatural experience. Nothing evil, from what I'm aware of, just seeing things and stuff being moved around. Personally, I believe in ghosts and spirits. So when we moved in, I made sure we had the house cleansed. We still had a few small things happen, like lights being turned on or something being moved. We just brushed them off, not thinking too much into it. Then, one night, after going to sleep, I wake up to see myself, still in bed, sleeping next to my wife. I was standing at the end of the bed looking at myself. I look around the room and see that my dog and cat are looking at me as I move. They keep watching me. As I walk out of the bedroom, my dog gets up and follows me. I go into the kitchen and see a woman standing there. She looks old and is dressed in ragged clothing. I feel tense and only find myself able to ask her, "What are you doing here?" She looks back at me and in a deep demonic voice yells, "No." Her mouth grew wider as she yelled. In that moment, I raised my arms to shield myself from her scream, and my dog must have sensed something because he ran back towards the bedroom, and I felt him licking my hand trying to wake me up. I felt my body get pulled back and instantly woke up. I sat up, shaking and breathing heavily. It was a bit after 3 a.m. when I checked the time. My wife was still asleep. Everything around me was quiet. I definitely couldn't sleep after that. I still don't know if what happened to me was something supernatural, but I have never experienced anything like this in my life until now. My wife later told me that it sounded like I was astral projecting. What do you think? I mean, yeah, I would say the same thing. I think there's kind of like, in terms of like astral projection, I think there's like a realness to it, if that makes sense. Compared to like your dreams, I think you can tell when something is slightly off. And it sounds to me almost like astral projection is almost like being on some kind of different level, I guess it sounds like what happened to you there. Like different level of like existence, you could say almost. I remember once, and I always remember this because it was so boring. When I was younger, I remember having like a similar experience, like waking up and seeing myself. And then I kind of like flew downstairs and I went into my living room, and I remember seeing my mum ironing and my dad just watching TV, and I was just floating there like, oh, what's going on? Why am I seeing this? And it was just so boring and so like true to life that I was like, okay, is that a dream? Was this real? Like what's my experience here? Then to see that woman, it's almost as if you were like, she was like, what are you doing in my world, you know? Like, you're not meant to be seeing me here. This is for ghosts only. Kind of situation. Thank you so much. That was creepy. I mean, I don't think I would feel the same after that. Like about my house, I'll be like, there's some woman in here living on some kind of different reality to me. Okay, I think we're changing the theme to being frozen to death, because this isn't the colour I thought it was. So our next story is called My Month in Hell. Ooh. It says, hey Robert, I've been watching your videos for a while now, and I just came across your series on ghost stories. I couldn't pass up the opportunity to tell you mine. Welcome, hi. It's kind of long, but I hope it's worth the read. Backstory. I rented my first house in the small town I grew up in. Everyone knows everyone is seriously a thing. The lady who was moving out of the house I rented was elderly, and my mum was good friends with her daughter. Her grandson was a grade above mine. The house was newly renovated and was the perfect size, 2-bedroom, 1 bath, and I was stoked. My parents and I lived around the block, so we offered to help the lady move her things out. And 2 days later, I moved in. The juicy details. I had a few encounters with the ghosts that lived in that house. The first one was while I was lounging in my bedroom. I slept with the door open, despite my better judgment. The TV was on, but the volume was low, and I heard a pop. It came from the kitchen, which was just on the other side of a hallway. Despite the fact that I am chicken shit, and partly being afraid to know what I'd find, I had to know the cause. I peeked my head in the kitchen, not expecting to find much, honestly, but one of the cupboards was actually open. The popping noise it made was because they had been freshly painted, and whenever you pulled them open, they popped as they broke free from the frame. If you know, you know. I know that exact sound. It's like when you paint a door, like varnish a door. I closed that sucker, headed back to the bedroom, and tried pushing the absurdity, of it actually being open out my mind. At that point, it was just coincidence, right? I then had a friend visit. A lot of the details they told me during their stay weren't mentioned to me until after I moved out. He went on to say while I was away at work, he would occasionally hear what sounded like someone walking down the hallway. Ooh, no. While he was lounging in the living room, or what sounded like me coming home when I wasn't actually there, which was crazy to me because there were times I would be in the bathroom showering and I kept thinking I would hear someone coming through the front door or walking around in the living room hallway areas. But I hadn't told him that at this point, so I was convinced it was just me hearing things. Literally baffled, I've also included a picture I took of us watching a movie because there is a light anomaly that is moving across the frame. It's moving towards the hallway as if it's what's been walking around all those times. We didn't hear anything or see anything in the moment until it caught my eye when looking through my photos. The second encounter with a ghost was probably the most terrifying to me in hindsight. I woke up to the sound of something in the attic running back and forth between my bedroom and the back bedroom. back and forth at least a dozen times. The running to me, it sounded more like an animal, maybe a raccoon size, although we do not have those where I live. So I called my mum and she said she'd send my dad over with a ladder to get the critter out. Naturally, I went back to sleep. An hour later, the running had stopped, but my dad came anyway. The crawl space was in the hallway and had also been painted shut. He looked around for mere seconds and said there was no way something that big could be running up here. There's at least 5 feet of insulation. I was mortified because there was no access to the attic from the outside. This was my final straw with the demon. I was again laying in bed at night, minding my own damn business, when I heard a crashing noise. It sounded like it had come from either the living room or the kitchen, but my ass was not about to play detective again. Learn from your mistakes. I had seen enough at this point, so I stayed in bed until I fell asleep. I got up the next morning and found the crashing noise was books that had fallen out of the shelves off my desk randomly in the night. Ooh, cold. Needless to say, I stayed at my parents' until I could move out. Now these things I uncovered after I left the house. My mum knows that I love the paranormal, but don't want to be involved in the paranormal, so she kept these things to herself, in case she was either crazy or it deterred me from wanting to stay in the house. Which, in all honesty, had I known these details, I would have happily taken myself out of the equation. But that's what makes my encounters so real. It wasn't jaded with prior knowledge, and they were completely my own experiences. Anyway, there were times that my mum would go over to clean and unpack items while I was at work. She always took her German Shepherd with her. She said that he did not like the second bedroom and would always lay in the kitchen and stare into the room, but would never go in it. I never had issues with the second bedroom, but I always had the door closed because it felt more comfortable when it was. Another time she had heard what sounded like someone running through the house as to not get caught when she unlocked the door. She was so convinced that she ended up looking all throughout the house and never found a soul. She also heard a dog bark inside the house and assumed it was a prior owner with her dog. No one was there then either. My mum talked a lot to the daughter of a lady who lived there before me. The daughter said that her mum would always say that the ghost kept moving things, but she just thought her mum was going crazy. Although at times I felt trapped in my own home, it's given me a lot to think about. I truly believed I tangoed with the unknown in my own home. I believe in Christ, and the nights that I struggled the most to stay in that house, I had strong feelings of angels who stood at the end of my bed, a feeling I haven't experienced since. Part of me still wonders who and why. I would just be so gutted if I moved into a house that I really, really liked and then found, that I was uncomfortable there, or I felt like haunted there. I really wouldn't know what to do. I would just be so devastated, because I would never share my house with a ghost. I'm just gonna do some little white wings on this look. This is called Ghost Lizard Said Goodbye. Aww. So it says, "Hi Robert, hi. I love your videos and wanted to send my story. Last year, my crested gecko Jim died. Oh, I'm sorry. My roommate and I decided to bury him out on the trails by my apartment. We found the perfect tree, had my dog dig a hole to bury him in it. That's so cute. And I left a stick in the ground as a marker for him. When I went to take the picture of his burial spot, a tiny face recognition showed up at the base of a tree. Thinking it was an accident, I tried to replicate it but couldn't. I attached the picture I took and circled the area that it showed up in. Looking at it now, there are no features that are close enough to a face to trigger it there. I believe it was his way of saying goodbye to me." That's so cute. Thank you for reading this. I look forward to your videos every Monday. Thank you so much. Oh, and there he is. What a little cutie. Isn't he cute? Oh, right. Our next story. We are flying through them today. It's called Haunted by My Father, but not in a bad way. I'm going to try out, just before we get into it, these crazy, crazy long lashes. I just want to see how they look. The following stories are actual events that happened to myself, my mother, and or 5 siblings. It was New Year's Eve 2000 at about 2:20 a.m. It started with with the birth of my first child, a beautiful baby girl who was the best ending to the worst year my family had experienced. My father passed away in August of cancer, and my husband's grandmother passed away in November. 2 months later, I was in the same hospital both Daddy and my husband's grandmother had been in less than 2 days before they passed away. It was a long labour, 2 days. Oh God, wow. And I suffered from a severe postpartum hemorrhage. As the doctor was working to stop the bleeding, I was busily looking around the room at the flurry of motion occurring on the other side of the room where my baby was being washed and cleaned, blood drawn for tests, diapered and swaddled. Suddenly, from the darker corner of the room, Daddy separated from the shadows and glided over the room to peek at the granddaughter he was 4 months shy of meeting. I had barely seen her, so I hadn't been able to determine if she looked more like me or my husband, but Daddy cleared that up immediately. In barely a whisper, in his rich baritone voice, my father told me how beautiful she was and that she looked just like me when I was born. Since no newborn pictures of me exist, I had no way to compare us for similarities. But when she finally got to an age where a picture of me existed, there was no doubt she looked almost identical with a very similar deviation. I look like my mum with my father's nose, and my daughter looks like me with her father's nose. I would have dismissed the incident as my imagination if it weren't for a nurse asking my husband if he'd just put on Old Spice aftershave. On what would have been Daddy's 50th birthday, the front door of my parents' house opened by itself without anyone being anywhere near the door. We would also walk into the kitchen some mornings, and the cupboard door, where the only thing stored in the small space was Daddy's coffee pot, cup and coffee canister, was stored standing wide open. I know for a fact that the door was closed when we went to sleep, because a cupboard door being left open was an easy way to piss my mum off. Oh my god, these lashes are insane, but they're super comfortable. That was such a nice story, thank you. That's nice to know that, I know I said before, maybe sometimes it's a little bit creepy that people are around, you know, it can be creepy, but in situations like that where they just want to be there for the significant parts of your life and, you know, celebrate with you, that's dead cute. I like that. Okay, let's try and find a short one. I'm just gonna like really highlight my face because we're cold, and that's what happens to you when you freeze to death. You get really highlighted suddenly. All right, so our next story is called Was I Possessed? So it says, hi Robert, hi. Currently writing this after watching your latest Ghost episode on YouTube. Thank you. You always make me smile, and I look forward to each posting, ghost related or not. Thank you so much. I told my sister about this series and she told me I had to tell my story about the time I may have been possessed. I'm glad she made you do that. I used to have awful insomnia after I graduated high school in 2012. I would not be able to sleep until nearly 6 a.m. most nights. One night around 2:45 a.m. I walked outside my back porch to get some air and look at the stars. I was standing there when I felt like someone or something was watching me just beyond the tree line. I got spooked and went back inside, locking the door behind me, rushing to my bedroom. A few minutes later, I was thirsty and knocked on my sister's door to ask if she wanted anything to drink. Got her drink order and was about to walk down the hall in the dark. My mum was a light sleeper, so I didn't dare turn on the light. As I turned to walk down the hallway, my body froze. I felt as though someone was staring into me at the end of a hall. That's right, into me. The feeling passed for a second, so I basically quiet ran to the end of the hallway. At the end of the hallway, picture it, to the left is a kitchen and to the right it opens into a living room. To my right there was a 6-foot black shadowy figure standing in front of our living room window, with the light from the lamp outside showing its silhouette inside the house. Ooh. I fumbled for the light switch to see nothing there when it came on. I yanked the drinks out of the fridge and booked it to my sister's room, shakily handing her a drink and squeaking goodnight as I ran into my room, shutting the door. I had a bunk bed in my room and so was on the top bunk, freaking out when there was a soft knock on my door. My sister came in asking if I felt that feeling that was in the house. I told her I did and asked that she sleep in my room for the night. She agreed, climbing up next to me. Now this next part is from what she told me. I don't remember any of it. She said, I pointed to the shadowy corner above the door and said, "It's there, go away." She said I turned super pale and that I started swaying, tapping the back of my head, saying pressure, pressure. She says that I then grabbed her hand hard and growled out the word pray. We aren't religious girls at all, but she prayed in Jesus' name 8 times before the colour came back to my face and the creepy feeling left. When I came to, she explained what happened. We haven't felt anything since. I had no other experience like that in my life. We have no idea what it was to this day and have both long since moved out. Hope the story gave you chills like it gave me writing it all out again. Hope you're well and staying safe. Love from Arizona, CC. Thank you so much. That did give me chills. That made me have to do this. Shadow people, shadow figures, at least with like a ghost that has like a full-on face or something, you can tell what it is. You can tell it's a human. You can tell it's a male, female, whatever. Whereas with a shadowy silhouette, it's like, are you real? Guys, look at these lashes. Oh, they're crazy. You know, they're really long and really big, but they're so light and comfortable. These are amazing. I really like them. And I believe I have a discount code. Yeah, it's Robert15. It's from a brand called Jashan Lashes. Yeah, I'll leave out all information below. Anyway, thank you so much for your story. That was terrifying. All your stories were so great today. Thank you so much. I'm trying to get through all these stories, so I'm having some help from now on. Kind of get through them and have them all sorted out. Anyway, this is our frozen to death look. Super cold. Alright guys, thank you so much for joining me. If this is your first time watching one of these ghost stories, I have a whole playlist here for you. Don't forget to check out mine and my brother's podcast over at The Double Cleanse on Instagram. Thank you again so much for joining me. I will see you Wednesday. Yeah, look after yourself. I will see you very soon. Bye.